summarize, for those that may not know, as mentioned briefly, we have 3 port of entries. We're having our 4th bridge, which was approved in the through the former president as well. So we are starting the Flor de Mayo bridge in Brownsville, Texas. And with that, Tony, if you would, kind of sort of help us here, how do you foresee that initiatives like this, not just bringing a new port of entry, the expansion that we're currently foreseeing at the BMM Bridge also, and then also the Port of Brownsville continues to grow. How do you feel that these improvements will actually help the Port of Brownsville, and most importantly, workforce development, grants, how that impacts our community, but particularly those relying on international trade and skilled labor?
Esmy, thank you again. You know what? I participated in what we call a stakeholders meeting with U.S. Customs and Border Protection at least twice a month. And we were told last week from the port director, we had the Office of Trade from Washington, and they told us the big investment they're having. They're going to redo the Gateway Bridge from los de Brazil, was the Puente Nuevo, que lo conocemos when we were kids. They're going to be redoing the whole the Gateway Bridge. But that's going to be for passenger services. They're expanding 4 more lanes, commercial lanes at the Veterans Bridge. That's going to alleviate the trade, the commerce at restaurantes for the Customs Workers Association is here. And we were excited that we finally heard from the feds that said they're finally going to be spending some money down on our port of entries. There's a big move of commerce in South Texas from the federal government. So that's exciting news. For finally we get to hear, because we're always out there telling our story, telling that one story, that the growth that South Texas is having, especially Brownsville. So we were actually excited to hear from DC and from Laredo that they're actually extending those train lanes, and they're actually adding additional 2 or 3 more lanes for the regular passenger services. They're at the Veterans Bridge. So we're excited for this new growth that even not only as a commercial, but the federal government finally tap into that. They saw the need on it. In addition to that, we have a West Rail Bridge. Sharif, Bonona from BRG, Omnitrex is here. We move we move close to about 100,000 rail cars a year this past 2024. So we're excited that the big growth we're having on that. In addition to that, we're limited to the windows that we have into Mexico, because we share that bridge with the Union Pacific Railroad. And with the growth that Port of Brownsville is having, we keep telling our federal officials guess what, guys, we need to start looking at the 24-hour window that Laredo has. And it's interesting that they're finally looking at us. They're fully looking at us, and it's exciting that they're tapping in those resources that we keep telling them. We've been telling them for years this is about to happen. This is no longer a project. And that's something. So you hear projects, great project. This is no longer a project. It's happening. And that's what the growth that we keep hearing and seeing. This is it. This is what we're having now. Now this is in our laps. Now what are we going to do? So I know we're always, federal government is always a little bit, nobody here from the federal government, they're always a little bit behind on infrastructure. But we're excited that they finally looked at us, and they're going to be expanding those commercial bridges. And not only commercial bridges, because a lot of people cross that bridge. And we're partnering with DOT, DPS, just to see maximize their facilities into the coming in. Commerce plays a big role. I'm going to say, because I'm from international trade. International trade is actually a big component in all border towns, and we sometimes become the stepchild. But we have this formula that every job that the international creates, it creates 9 other jobs. So we have an economic impact study that we just did. It's a $7.8 billion industry that it's somehow we're not familiar with, and this is private, not government, private. Customs brokers, carriers, Mexican and U.S. customs brokers, us, Sharif, anybody that's related to international trade, also Julie, guess what? It becomes that domino effect that we have in South Texas. And sometimes I know we don't address that a lot, and we Steve talks about it a lot in his the River Guardian, that international trade plays a big key in our industry.
Thank you.
What I wanted to add to that, and this is why it's so important that you're here at the Capitol and you're advocating. This didn't just happen out of thin air in terms of the new bridges, the 4 new bridges. It happened because of advocacy, and I want to call out IBC Bank. I see Bob Barnett here, but this is one where it's Dennis Nixon and my good friend, the trade evangelist, Jerry Schwebel. They were meeting, just so people understand why this happened, they were meeting with Senator Cruz, and they discussed what are some of the constraints for trade. Because if you think about nearshoring, if we're going to be trading more, we have to have the arteries of trade. We need to have bridges. We're not going to just be using air cargo. We need rail. We need trucks, and we need more bridges. We need literally more bridges built or bridges updated. So this was a bipartisan, bicameral effort with Senator Ted Cruz, Senator Cornyn, Henry Cuellar, and really the entire South Texas congressional delegation, Representative Gonzales, right to left, joining together to say we need to expedite the presidential bridge permitting system, and that became law. So this is one where your advocacy really matters. And Tony, I'll say you give a phenomenal tour of the Port of Brownsville. We're super excited that now we will have an administration that instead of pausing good Texas LNG that we send to the rest of the world, our friends, our allies, to keep people warm, to keep our friends safe, we're going to see, you can take it to the bank, IBC Bank, that we're going to see a lot more Texas LNG shipped all over the world and from the great port of Brownsville. But you have to advocate.
Thank you, Glenn. Consul, por favor.
Esmy, let me introduce a very brief remark. What I'm feeling here is that the city of Brownsville is eager to send an international message to the global audience, not just to the bilateral relationship of the US and Mexico. You have an international message that needs to be heard. And in that way, I feel that Consul Judith Arrieta is the right Mexican consul at the right moment in the right city. Congratulations, Judith, and you be sure that along with Consul Judith, there is a highly efficient attaché for economic affairs, Rene Soreda, here attending the meeting, with experience in Washington and the World Bank. And if in Rome, in the Roman Empire, it used to be said that all roads lead to Rome, some could say at this moment, in the current circumstances, that all roads lead to Washington, D.C. And in that experience, J.R. Gonzales has an accumulation of spending 9 years in D.C. as the chairman, CEO of the Mexican American Chambers of Commerce. Is that correct, J.R.?
For a period of time, the United States Hispanic Chamber of Commerce.
The U.S. Hispanic Chambers of Commerce. Let me conclude with one experience, which is a very successful one. It could serve as a reference to the Brownsville agenda. There is an association of sister cities, Austin Saltillo Sister Cities, represented here today by Mrs. Alicia Perez Hodge. You are very welcome, Alicia. Writer, journalist, Alicia Perez Hodge. And that experience shows that the cities are increasingly playing an international role, a very effective, realistic role. And that in that way, Esmy Villarreal is doing the right task to put the trade, business message of Brownsville into an international audience. Congratulations, Esmy.